Now the rush defense, you mentioned that. I thought they were tremendous against Illinois. Illinois, you know what Brett Bielema wants to do. He's going to line up and run it right at you, and they held Illinois to 2.1 yards per carry, which is a huge early season test for that rush defense after what happened against Michigan last year, after what happened against Illinois 2 years ago. And I think that could be big just for the confidence boost, if nothing else. But yeah, I agree. There's nothing you like more as a football coach than when you win a game handedly. And I think you saw this with some of their play calling on Saturday, where they knew they were going to win the game. So they tried some things just to, like, there were opportunities there where they could have run off tackle and got huge gains in the second half when they were up 23-7, 30-7. But we're still trying to force the in-between tackle run. And I think that was more of, hey, we know we need to work on this. We're up 3 scores against an offense that can't move the ball, but they have a pretty good defense. Let's try and work on it. I mean, like you said, Corey, there's nothing you can ask more than to be able to work on things and learn from mistakes and a blowout victory. And I definitely, I didn't see any of the Iowa game. We went out to dinner after the Penn State game, so I caught like bits and pieces of it here and there because it was on one of the TVs at the bar. But from what I've gathered, it definitely seems like it was similar to where in the second half they were able to make some adjustments, pull away, and then kind of cruise and learn in a blowout victory. And like you said, you can't ask for much more than that, especially when you have this big of a game on deck. I mean.
Yeah, Ray in the chat. Penn State run D looked suspect versus Illinois. I just pulled up the stats as you said that, Marty. I mean, yeah, they hold them to 62 yards on the ground on 2.1 per carry. So
there was one carry, Reggie Love. There was a 3rd and like 26. Illinois ran a draw and got like 24 yards on it. And I mean, you don't ever want to give up 24 yards rushing, but when it's 3rd and 26, you're going to have everybody back. So you're susceptible to that because you're fine giving it up. If you take away that run, Illinois literally had like 35 yards rushing or something like that. So, and the Penn State fans are saying this too. I don't know if like I just watched a different game than some people, or some.
I'm looking at the stats. The stats don't lie.
I think some people were just coming into the year expected this rush defense to struggle to where on Illinois' first drive, they moved the ball, missed a field goal, and they couldn't move the ball the rest of the game. Where it's like, oh, man, they had 2 good runs on the opening drive. The rush defense is terrible. I don't know. Like you said, the stat sheet, what I watched in the game, I think they had like 12 tackles for loss. Like it told me the run defense was pretty good. So
maybe it fooled a bunch of us, Marty, because I did an analysis after the game, and I watched all the meaningful plays in the game all the way up until like 23-7, 30-7, and I checked out after that. But I watched everything. And when I went back to the opening drive, because it just seemed Illinois marched down the field, then they bogged down, then they missed the field goal. And I thought, they're running the ball down their throats. I went back to it and it was like a 12-yard run and a 5-yard run. And that was about it. And I thought, okay, well, it wasn't quite what I remembered.
Well, keep in mind I'm just looking at this because I didn't watch it yet, but the 2 Illinois quarterbacks went 7 carries for negative 14 yards. So that does, that does affect those rush numbers a little bit because of how college counts sacks versus rush.
Some of that too was designed runs by Altmaier. I mean, again, sacks were a factor there. I think Penn State had 3 or 4 sacks on Saturday, excuse me. But there were like 3 or 4 designed runs by Altmaier that went nowhere either. So, I mean, it's a little bit of both. But yeah, if you finish a game allowing 2.1 yards per carry, you don't care how you got there, you're going to be happy with it.
Yeah, I think that's fair. And Iowa, for the record, Iowa's rush defense has been solid, but they've not gotten home to the quarterback very much. And that's going to be that's the storyline. It was brought up today to Kirk. How did you feel the D line has played collectively? And he's happy, but the players, specifically Logan Lee today, made a comment about how we got to get home more. Teams are getting the ball out of the pocket quickly, and Iowa doesn't necessarily have. I don't know who the next AJ Epinesa, Lucas Van Ness, Drew Ott type of guy is, and that might be the one thing that makes people a little bit nervous because I don't know if they have that home run hitter defensively on the line. Maybe it ends up being Deontay Craig. There was some hype around him. He's been pretty quiet so far this year. They've got some young people on the interior of the line that I'm high on, but the run D has been solid. I mean, I obviously know you're going to be able to tell us more about the running backs for Penn State than I can, but they were just raved about today during media availability.
Yeah, that Penn State defense, my good. And I know I need to tread lightly here because the Iowa folks take a lot of pride in their defense, and it's been arguably the best defense and sometimes clearly the best defense in the Big Ten at times in recent years. But sheer athleticism, and not that it's not a good defense in terms of execution, but this Penn State crew, wow. They've got athletes. They've got NFL players just all over the place, all 3 levels. I don't know why I didn't pick this team to win the Big Ten, but I didn't. But
Let me just make a comment.
they've got
real
dudes
quick.
all over the place.
I'm sure you're totally right. You know a lot more about that defense than I do. Iowa's got NFL guys at every level on defense too.
Yeah.
So they may not be
Just not as many.
Okay. I
But
don't
one
know
thing-
that. You could be right. I have no idea. They probably have.
One thing I will say about this Penn State defense, it makes it so special. Even if you look at, this team, it's unavoidable, gets compared up and down to 2017. As part of this year, 2017 was James Franklin's best team. That 2017 team didn't have a true game record on defense. This defense has at least one first-round pick at every single level, and that's when you start getting into that special territory. Chop Robinson is going to be a first-round pick. Abdul Carter will be a first-round pick. Kalen King will be a first-round pick. You go back up to the defensive line, Deni Dennis Sutton will probably be a first-round pick when the time comes. Like this team, it's not just that they're loaded with NFL guys. They're loaded with legitimate first-round, second-round, 5-10 year stalwart kind of guys. And just you don't get that very often in college football if you're not in Alabama, you're not in Georgia. Even Ohio State doesn't have a lot in their defense. And some of it is good recruiting wins. Some of it has been great development by Manny Diaz and the staff. Some of it is just these guys fit Manny Diaz's scheme perfectly. But I think that's, with me at least, that's what makes this defense the potential to be so special. It's not that they've got NFL guys at every level, but they've got at least one first-round pick at every single level, potentially multiple first-round picks in the defensive end room.
I'll just say, too, a couple observations from the stat sheet when I look through Penn State, Illinois. Penn State took care of the ball, but when you only win by 17 and you're +5 in turnovers, that tells me maybe not quite as dominant as the score would indicate. And you look at a couple other stats here, Marty. 20 first downs for Penn State, 20 first downs for Illinois. Illinois did outpass Penn State. Now they're playing from behind, so that needs to be put in context. 7 penalties for 70 yards for the Nittany Lions. Iowa's had 1 penalty in 2 weeks now. So those are some areas there. You got to win the turnover battle.
Yeah.
Don Patterson said it first. He said it best on Saturday. You got to win the turnover battle if you're going to have a chance on the road in State College, especially at night with the whiteout.